Can you start a podcast with me, please? I need something to do.
Sent it out in front of Malkin to save. They score! Elias Lindholm looks to the heavens.
Here's a chance. Potter right in, and goalie scores. Oh my! What a move by the rookie.
2-on-1. Pastrnak moving in with Marchand. Get into it. Score!
The zone. Coyle dances in. Backhand score!
Lindholm right wing corner. Pastrnak is there. He scores! David Pastrnak wins it for Boston.
Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of Bruins Tape to Tape. I'm your host today, Karoline with a K, and we are continuing our series with our special guest, Professor Moe, on new players to the team. And so, without further ado, we're going to dive right in because I'm sweating in this room that does not have air conditioning in it.
Are you crazy right now?
But of course, before I continue with my complaints, I want to say hello and welcome into my fantastic co-host, Maria. How's it going, Maria?
It's going well. You need one of these, my friends. Fill up your tape-to-tape glass with your lemonade.
I do.
Here. What are you doing? This is taking one for the team too far. Get yourself a fan or something.
I know. Well, so I live in an older home. And we have mini splits, and this is like the only room that we didn't put one in because it's an office. Who needs to be in here?
And can we really call Moe a guest anymore? Like,
yes.
Honestly, I think he's like a third person in. I'd say third man in, but I want to keep it real. So a third person in. But welcome back, Moe.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me. It's always
one of
fun.
Our many members of the panel of experts that we rely heavily on to help us have a well-rounded perspective on this very questionable hockey team at this moment in time. But we're going to dive right in. So today we are talking about Victor Arvidsson. He's actually technically not a free agent signing, but he was traded quite literally at the 11th hour on free agency signing day. So he kind of feels like one. We're going to kind of pretend he is one. He's new to the team, and that's all that matters. So a quick little background on who this guy is. He's another Swede, so he's going to feel quite at home with the Boston Bruins. He is 32 years old, left wing, right shooter, and he's been in the league for 10 seasons, and he's been a pretty steady presence, not having played a complete full 82 games for a season, but he's pretty much right up there, except for not this past season, the 24-25 season, but the 23-24 season when he was still with LA. He only clocked 18 games due to a back injury and some lower body stuff. So they traded him. He was on a 2-year deal with Edmonton, and so he's going to be finishing off his year left in Boston. My understanding is he waived a no move and was willing to come to Boston. He is a $4 million cap hit, and so it'll be probably a good testing year for him, certainly. I'm excited to see this guy play. He's got a lot of experience, having played obviously just back in June in the Stanley Cup final, and having been with LA for 3 seasons prior, although again, one of them he was out, he's been in the playoffs. So for a 32-year-old with, I'd say, pretty decent playoff experience, he started his career out in Nashville. So again, another team that's gone into the playoffs before. So a good veteran presence, it would seem, coming onto the Boston Bruins. But because he doesn't play for Boston and hasn't yet, we don't know a whole ton about him. And we're excited to learn a little bit more about who he is. Before, Moe, you educate us on this player and what we can expect and maybe where he'll land, Maria, What was your first impression when hearing about this trade? What are your initial thoughts on this player?
Based on, listening to some of our, the regular podcasts that we listen to, because again, we don't know anything about this player because he's been predominantly in the West Coast.
Yeah.
But hearing about the fact that he has a great deal of speed, he's not afraid to shoot, he's got some slick hands, and he could help the power play improve. So I am intrigued to see how he fits in with this team and a fresh start. However, my concern is that he doesn't seem to be able to stay healthy long enough to kind of cement and solidify whatever role he is going to play on a team. So that does give me a little bit pause for concern because, I hate to be a gloom and doom, but it seems to me that once you have an athlete, and it doesn't matter if it's hockey, baseball, football, basketball, who seems subject and prone to injuries, it doesn't seem like those injuries ever kind of stop. So, short of that, I know he missed a boatload of time in the 2023-24 season due to back surgery. So he missed the first 50 games of that season. And then he only played 4 games and then went out with a lower body injury. And then, if you kind of work your way backwards, even starting back as early as 2007-18, and then every season subsequent to that, he's had a history of injuries and missing games. And they're not like small sample numbers of games. They range anywhere from, with 50 being the largest to, 12, 21 games, or even being put on long-term injury. So I think there's a lot of upside to this player because of the skill level that he brings. He's got some history with LA, so maybe some familiarity with Marco Sturm as well. But my concern is the injury history.
Yeah. Well, and who knows? We've seen in the last probably 5 years, whoever's on the medical staff for the Boston Bruins, they certainly seem to be working wonders and are some kind of magician. We've seen the ahead of schedule return of at least a handful of pretty significant players coming off of pretty significant surgeries and coming back in seemingly good health. So who knows? Maybe he'll get some luck. But I definitely think that that's a legitimate concern. Let's just hope if that's just part of the price you pay, that the games that he does play are impactful, because that's really all that we want. We don't want a guy to be out for 50 games, but for the 17 or 18 games that he is playing, hopefully he does a great job. But so Mo, tell us about him as a player. What's his deal? What, I think we're all kind of on the same page in assuming that he is a top 6. He's probably going to be playing on the second line. What's his style? What's his deal?
Yeah. So I think the way I look at it, right, he's got to be a top 6 guy. The nice thing is it was pretty much a low risk, high reward type of trade for Don. I think the way I see it is I don't think the Bruins thought or wanted to bring in a top 6 forward in the free agent market. And so they wanted to find someone via trade. And if I remember right, all they gave up was a 5th round pick in 2027. So it basically got him for free. So if he doesn't kind of pan out, there's at least some hopefully higher end talent in Providence like Lysell or Patra that they can put in. So I think all in all, it was probably a smooth move for Don to kind of do this. I think you guys called it, where bringing in some familiarity for Marco Sturm when he was in LA. I think that's going to help, as well as some additional kind of power play. Just let kind of solidify that as well, so you don't have to rely on some of the new guys that they brought in and stuff like that. So As you guys said, he was kind of hurt, so there wasn't really too much data for the last couple of years. So really all we were kind of able to find is like the all three zones data back from when he was in LA. And good news is his stats were all really, really positive. There isn't really anything that kind of sticks out. For a, I would consider him more of an offensive type guy, probably like a poor man's pasta in terms of that, right? We're not really going to rely on him to have a defensive zone game. But we want him to kind of push the pace of play, and basically score goals more than really kind of give up goals, right? If he gives up odd man rushes, I don't really care too much about that. So looking at everything, I mean, his general offense, all his passing, his offensive types, everything looks great. His deflections are a little bit lower, so I would assume he's not going to be a front, kind of front of the net type guy. Looking at his stats and kind of his edge ability is he's a lot faster than league average, which is also really good. Because I think that's kind of one of the things that was lacking for Boston was some speed. So his top skating speed is actually like in the 99th percentile.
Wow.
So
Wow.
20, almost 24 miles an hour. So I will take that. I don't know how many times he did that, but to give you guys, league average was 21.67 miles per hour. So he's significantly faster.
Yeah.
Again, speed
Well,
burst over 20.
It's not like he's got to be maintaining that up and down the rink. You know, he's no center.
Right.
The whole point for the winger is, can he get that burst of speed? He's got to be the sprinter to get into position and be where he
Yep.
needs to be in order to receive the puck and take the shots. So I'm okay with
Yep.
that.
Yep. Same with transition game. If you're going to get the puck in the D zone and you gotta, you need someone to just kind of flee the zone, get behind the defenders. That's kind of what Pasta does. So if he can learn some things that Pasta does, I think bringing speed, if he does play on the second line, may kind of give a good like 1-2 dynamic, for kind of the slower defensive pairs that may be a little bit bigger. He can kind of use that speed to go around those guys. So overall, I mean, things look pretty good. He gets some decent shots on goal again, which is good. We need guys that can shoot, as well as kind of generate those kind of higher danger scoring. And again, that's kind of another thing that he does pretty well, as well as zone entries. His zone entries a couple of years ago were all better than league average. I think some of us are kind of sick and tired of seeing dump and chase and kind of dump it and retrieve it. A little bit more creativity and, entering the zone and stopping and letting the guys kind of go. And then you hit the guy that's, the high man, the third forward coming in and you get a better chance than just trying to crash the net. It just doesn't seem to work for the Bruins, even though they always try it. So I don't know where else you guys want to look at this kid, but he's
curious.
Pretty good.
So one of the things that we've done in the last couple of episodes is kind of put him up against a player that either currently is on the team or was recently on the team to kind of give us some perspective. And so I'm kind of wondering how he compares to someone like Pavel Zacha. Now, granted, Zacha for the last couple of seasons has played center, so his job has been different. I can't recall, and Mo, you might have a better memory with this, when Zacha was in New Jersey, if he was playing more primarily on the wing there or not. But considering the fact that, again, this is conjecture, but like it kind of makes sense based on the available personnel, that it's going to be Zacha on one side, Middlestat in the middle, and Arvidsson on the other side. So how do those two kind of compare, how, in terms of stylistically their play and the things that they're particularly good at? Or are they complementary?
Yep.
Are they similar? How do we
Yep.
kind of see their on ice relationship playing out?
Yep. I think Zacha and Arvidsson could play decently well together. Their kind of data complements each other pretty well. Where Zacha is a better than league average passer and Arvidsson is a better than league average shooter. So that bodes well for both of them. The only problem is Middlestat. Just it's a big if he's able to figure out his offensive skills then I think that line has a chance to probably increase the scoring and make the Bruins a better team. But I mean, his middle stats and his data points just are not very good. And I think he's already been kind of brought up in rumors to be trade bait again. And he just doesn't seem to really have that push or really have that ability. Kind of reminds me of like Coyle a little bit, where he would just kind of like hold on to the puck or pass too much, right? Just something isn't clicking there. And, you know, you can't really put your finger on it, but you see it and you notice it, and it's kind of frustrating. So I would say, again, it feels like Arvidsson is a guy that relies a lot more on his speed and his shot. He does have a pretty decent shot, where his top shot speed's like 90 miles an hour. League average is about 80. So he's got a pretty heavy shot. Looking at Zacha, I mean, we all probably don't want Zacha to shoot anymore just because he'll miss the net or so. I mean, the nice thing is though,
he seems to have had an aversion to shooting amongst other players on the team. You know, they had a tendency to overpass, and I would put Charlie Coyle in that grouping as well. And honestly, on occasion, I thought David Krejci would miss opportunities to take shots.
Yeah.
Oh, he always passed.
So, you know, I think this is what intrigues me about this guy and the upside. If he's able to stay healthy and kind of, you know, make himself at home, so to speak, for the next couple of years. I think of all the signings and deals that Sweeney has made, Arvidsson might be the one that has the most potential to benefit the Bruins.
Right.
Yeah. And it seems like he also certainly carries more of a shoot first mentality. So, and again, that's an issue that we've been complaining about for, it seems like, an eternity. But, you know, last season he had almost a 69% Corsi for 60. You know, in that season where he played 18 games, it was 70.5. So he played 18 games, but he was shooting the heck out of that puck, you know, 65%, 74.5, so on and so forth. He basically has never dipped below 61%, with the exception of obviously his very first season when he literally played 6 games. So, you know, that's fantastic. Again, I think we are going into a season where a lot of our expectations seriously need to be adjusted and kind of recalibrated, because, you know, this is the kind of win I think we are needing to look at and see versus, well, they just got to go out and be the most amazing. I mean, I just want to see them shoot more. You know, he scored 15 goals last season. That's great. I want to see a 20-goal scorer on that second line. He probably could do it. You're
not going to have any success,
right,
in this league if you don't get a second line player that's going to give you 25 goals. It's just simply not going to happen in today's NHL. And that is a problem that they need to solve. And they need to solve it quickly if the Bruins only want this to be a short-term retool.
Yeah, exactly. And his offensive point shares isn't something that's particularly spectacular. It's actually quite low-ish, considering how frequently he shoots the puck. Last season, it was 1.4. It was 1.2 the year before that. The year prior, so 3 seasons ago, he had a pretty good season of a 4.4. But for a left wing who is a top 6, you know, that's not great. But who knows? Some of that could be a byproduct of the type of team that he was on. You know, was it a high scoring team that racked up a ton of points? I don't know, because again, West Coast was definitely not following any of those games. But I think the bare minimum that we all want to see is a significant increase in shots made by these players, because you're not going to score any goals if you don't shoot at the nets.
do we want, and I get, the age-old question that we've been trying to address, and even there's been conflict between management and players in the past. Are we looking for quality? Are we looking for quantity? Which is it that we're looking for? Or do we need both at this point?
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather have, at this point, I'd almost rather have quantity over quality, just because I think we're used to always the players shooting it right into the logo. And in the playoffs, the saying always that I've always heard is there is no bad shot in the playoffs.
No.
So in order to have that mentality in the playoffs, I think you might as well just have it, in the regular season too, because again, you never know what's going to happen. You might hit it off a leg. The goalie might sneeze and lose
I'm
the
in
puck.
agreement with you.
So,
I just asked the question. I'm in agreement,
right?
Too, because how many periods did we see last season where our team couldn't even muster a legitimate shot on goal? It was borderline embarrassing in some instances.
Yeah, let alone a shot attempt. I mean, that's even worse. The fact that we had at least 2 or 3 games that I can distinctly remember, because I don't think I had ever seen this happen to the Bruins, where they went an entire period without even an attempt.
Right. And you can do that. Every team has the potential based on, the team that they're playing and the defensive structure. But when you have a team that it happened to more than once last season, that's a huge problem.
Right. Huge problem. Once is a freak occurrence.
Right. So I welcome someone who has a shoot first mentality that I hope will become a little bit contagious in some.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
And hopefully, with his familiarity with Marco, I'm hoping their power play will get a boost. And that is one area I think the Bruins can easily generate more offense comparative to last year. And the way, if we want to kind of compare guys again and see who plays well with other guys, right? We talked about Jeannot being hopefully a net front presence on the power play. And if you've got Arvidsson, who is a guy that, gets shots, has a good shot, is able to, work around the screen or let Jeannot deflect it or get rebounds. And also hopefully with, Lindholm, with Hampus coming back, you can maybe see some of those guys get some chemistry where, to be fair, we didn't really have any 3 of those guys last year. So I think that's another kind of avenue to look, and, maybe Pasta and Arvidsson are out there on the same power play when Pasta wants to play back. It'll be interesting to see kind of how they do things, but I think that's another kind of avenue we should be excited about, is maybe hopefully the Bruins can have a serviceable power play again. So we'll see.
I don't remember what that was like. So you bring up Arvidsson.
Been a while.
I didn't have any gray hairs. Let's put it that way. So you brought up the power play a couple of times with Arvidsson. Are you imagining this presence on the power play just because it's a, part of his type of position, being a potential second line winger? Or is there something special about him that would make him particularly useful on the power play? Was he a power play specialist, if you will, in past lives? Or again, is this just like that comes with the job description when you're a top 6 winger, you are on power play?
Yeah, I think it's more along those lines. I kind of have to look and see how much power play time he had. But when I look at it, right, there's not really a whole lot of options on this team for power play. No one else that they brought in is really screaming kind of power play specialist. I don't think there's anybody that is going to really kind of sneak up and surprise us. But I like his speed. I've always been kind of a fan of speed, as well as kind of agility guys, because you want those guys that can kind of open up the passing lanes, force the penalty killers to move their sticks. And that kind of creates those passing lanes, those passing holes for guys. And he does a great job. His stats for one-timers is kind of off the charts.
Yeah.
Again, so we saw Pasta. I mean, he's got got most goals in power play or most one-timers or top 2, top 3. So you couple another guy that can do one-timers, you kind of open that cross ice pass for kind of slap passes if the goalie kind of gets the yip and is ready. So just kind of little things like that is kind of where I'm looking, as well as he's pretty good at the cycle offense. So he's good at kind of being low and moving the puck around, which again is something that I kind of appreciate with power plays, because it kind of gives that mentality of having the puck and looking for the pass, but kind of skating around and hopefully not standing still, which again, I think is something we were all kind of frustrated with last year, where it just seemed like everybody just kind of stood around and didn't move their feet. And so kind of those things coupled around.
And it certainly seems, just looking at his power play, Corsi 4 percentage, just over the course of his entire career, it's flirting with 90%. He came off from Edmonton, which they've been known for a pretty strong power play.
Lethal.
And
I
then,
would call it lethal.
he was pushing 90% there, and then during his time in LA, again 86 to 89%, over 90% when he was with Nashville in his final 2 seasons there. So, even without knowing how well those individual teams performed with the power play, just looking at those statistics alone would lead me to believe that regardless of what they're doing or how they're doing, he as an individual is taking shots during a time that's pretty important. Like, you really need to be shooting the puck, and you don't shoot the puck, I would assume, if you're just standing in one place, because you have to constantly be moving in order to be successful. So that's kind of the hope that we will see some of that there. And I do want to correct a brief mistake that I made when talking about his Corsi overall per 60. It wasn't a percentage. It was a 68 count, which is still 68 then shot attempts, I believe. Corsi 4 for 60. So it's kind of like averaging out. So still pretty fantastic. His percentage is still well over 50% over his entire career, basically.
Right.
He's
which basically means he pushes the play more than he
Yes.
gets the play pushed against him. Right.
Yes. Yep.
It's like more positive, like actions or game sequences, I think. Right.
Yeah. It's effectively, so Corsi is effectively a possession metric that demonstrates how frequently a team is in possession of the puck when someone's out there on the ice. And so when you have over 50%, it's indicating that the player is on the ice more often than not, in possession, taking shots, because it's all shots, blocked or not blocked. So that's pretty good, especially considering the dearth of shots that we have experienced over the last few seasons. So,
again, of all these signings, and we've got one more that we need to discuss in the later podcast, but this player is the one that I think has the most, in my mind, the most upside, and the one that I'm most interested in seeing how he is going to be utilized and in what different capacities he will be utilized, because our power play, let's call it what it is. It sucked balls. It sucked balls last season. It has sucked balls for a couple of seasons.
Yeah.
And to your point, Mo, nothing good ever happens in hockey when you don't move your feet. It sounds so trite and it sounds so, simplistic, but it's reality. Nothing good happens when you don't move your feet. And the power play has been so easy to defend, so predictable. And I would hope that Arvidsson would factor in prominently in changing that when it comes to the power play.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. And if we want to compare, because you guys know I can't go a podcast without bringing someone up.
It's your favorite.
So the Corsi for Arvidsson was, I think, like 56% last year. Freddie was at 48.3. So if we kind of bring people in and compare,
he was even that's even higher than I thought it
would have expected.
To be honest with you.
So not great. But yeah, so hopefully, we can kind of get these guys out that had kind of more poor possession metrics along with kind of other stats and the eye tests that kind of showed these guys probably were more of an issue than a benefit to the team. And I mean, probably overall not a super strong offseason for the Bruins, but an interesting one because if, in my mind, they kind of brought in specialists, right? You have a couple guys that were, Jeannot probably physical, maybe like net front presence. Isamont is a bottom six guy that can bring some speed. And now Arvidsson, who basically should bring in some more offense, bring in some speed, bring in some power play, bring in some familiarity with Marco Sturm and help him be a little bit more kind of comfortable coaching. And it can be another guy that kind of helps the other players, the younger guys, buy into the system and help understand what the new system is going to be. And I think it's a solid move. We've got him for 1 year. We got rid of a 5th round draft pick. And so I don't really see any harm. There's really low risk.
Yeah. They were basically, as the summer has gone on, and again, continuing to mull over and really kind of sit with the decisions that were made over the summer, it is starting to crystallize a little bit more in seeing how they are. A lot of these players are there to fill a very specific hole in this boat, plug the hole in the boat, right? And I think for me, Arvidsson, I'm going to have probably the highest expectations of the four that overall that we're talking about. Because of his age, his experience. He's on the second line, presumably. I think he's the highest that we are predicting of all the new acquisitions to be up. So
I would say so, yeah.
I think he's the most real deal feeling of them all,
Yep. What's a successful season for you guys? Maria, probably longevity, playing at least 70 games, I would say.
For this player?
Start. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, again, I think it's unfair to expect a player playing the sport of professional NHL hockey to play every single game.
Yeah.
But I would certainly like to see him stay in the lineup for a good 70 games, if at all possible.
Or no injuries related to previous injuries. I would say.
Right. Yeah.
You can't, if he blocks a shot and breaks the leg, you can't really fault him.
No.
Right.
So,
right.
But I would say, I mean, points wise, looking at Zacha, he had 47 points last year. If we want to compare, I mean, we probably need 20, 25 goals from Arvidsson and 15, 20 assists maybe. So 50, 60 points to push that play. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm looking. I'm not really too concerned about a plus minus, at least for a guy like that. But give me 50, 60 points. I think we're going to need that from him.
And he seems very capable of it. If you look on Hockey References at his stats, he has been in that 20, 25 goal range. I think his highest was 34 goals in one season, which would be phenomenal, right? If you can get him and you can keep him healthy, right? That would be phenomenal. Now, I mean, again, he's 32, which I say it like it's old, but in hockey terms, guys that are getting into their 30s who have had some injury history, do we have any concern about kind of a slow down of some sort?
Yeah. I mean, I think that comes with the territory. It's really hard not knowing what kind of a player he is, not knowing what to look for and to compare.
Yeah.
But I think that's the reality of being 32 years old in the National Hockey League. I think he's at that weird age where, in my mind, depending on the level of play, the type of player, their injury history, how many games do they typically play in a season? At 32, realistically, how many more years of hockey do they have, right? So like someone like David Pastrnak, he's not even 30, but if let's say he was 32, I would say he's probably got at least 5 more years minimum in him because he's got multiple 82 game seasons. He's never really, knock on wood, sweet merciful Jesus.
Yeah, don't say
He's
it.
never, he doesn't have like a chronic issue. He has no chronic issues. He's never, again, touching all the wood
Has
in
he
the
been
world.
dinged up? He's been dinged up, but
Sure. But then, you have other players who just get the crap beaten out of them all the time, or they're injury prone, or they just have, something that maybe never healed right, like Torrey Krug, right? He's a young guy, and his career is effectively over because of a bad break that happened in, 2019? So,
Ortiz.
Right. Exactly. Freak.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen, right? So it is that kind of weird age where it's like for some of the players, they've got plenty of life left in them, and others, because you've seen them play enough and their history that like, okay, we're looking at maybe the final 2 seasons. I don't know. I think he probably has a little bit more just based on, again, looking at him on paper. I'm not super concerned because with the exception of, and very understandably, that one season where he only played the 18 games, I think he's put in a good amount of time. I don't know that there's been a ton of crazy, terrible injuries. So
right.
I think if he has a good season and he likes it in Boston and he produces and he does his actual job, he could end up finishing his career in Boston. But Mo, any final question marks, concerns, again, besides the injury stuff? Or how are you feeling as we've asked this season? What's the vibes? What are your vibes coming from this guy?
I mean, at least of all of the signings, trades that they've done up to this point, he's probably the one I'm most optimistic about. Mm-hmm. So I feel pretty good about him. I mean, he had almost back-to-back 30-goal seasons. Under Marco, he had 20 goals, 26 goals. The shortened season, he had 6 goals in 18 games. So, I mean, he can score, right? Almost 200 goals in his career. So I think he'll do well. Again, it's going to be more of an idea as to who he pairs with, if Zacha is even around by the time preseason, regular season starts.
Because we all know his name has been,
Yeah. He
sources
could be gone by the time
sources
this airs,
say
so
his name is being shopped
Right.
around. And you were right.
Yep.
I just saw an alert that Casey Middlestat's name is come up and is being shopped around. So I'm not,
Yep.
So I mean, they've got an abundance of guys that you're like,
They do.
where are you going to put them all in? You can't.
Yep.
Right.
And then again,
how are you going to bring up the young guys?
Yeah,
Right, yeah,
exactly.
right.
But
They
I'm
need
okay with
space.
those guys sticking down. But again, at some point, they either have to play or you use them as trade bait.
Right.
So we'll see. But I think I want to be optimistic. I think he'll give us a nice kind of shot of offense. He'll help the power play. And as long as he can kind of make Marco Sturm kind of settle down and focus on less players, kind of understanding the system, I think it's a win. And I hate to say it, but good job, Don, on this one. I think he did it right. But
no, you're right.
I think this is a good one.
We've got to give him credit. Yeah. No,
But
I
it's-
agree with you.
It's a good one.
And it seems like, they looked at guys for the most part who seemingly needed fresh starts.
Mhm.
So whatever organizations they had come from previously, things just didn't play out or pan out, or they weren't being utilized in the right way, or the system and structure didn't suit them. So, right. So they're taking a chance on the organization. The organization is taking a chance on them. The investment on them other than one particular signing, which we won't delve back into again because I think I said it all before. Were reasonable. So
Yep, and we're under the cap. I don't know, good or bad. We're under the cap. So
I'll take it.
Any final thoughts?
Not from me. I think
I
we'll
think
be all right.
Yeah, no. I think,
Well,
again, I wish him health. I want him to stay healthy because, I want him to stay healthy because I think he can be an asset to this team.
Yeah. Well, listeners, we want to hear from you. We want to know how you're feeling about this particular signing. Are you also concerned about these injuries, or do you think it's not a big deal? Do you think he's going to actually perform the way we're hoping? We'd love to hear what your expectations are of someone of this relative caliber. So make sure you like, subscribe, rate, and review so that others can find our channel and our podcast. And as always, go Bees!
Go Bees!
Go Bees!